If you believe you're enlightened, go home and stay with your parents for 3 months. Now, a lot of you actually familiar with these words and worship this kind of guidance. This was said by a Zen master in medieval time Japan. But unfortunately, I'm going to tell you this. Given today's environment that we're living in, social environment, cultural environment, whatever you name it, stay home with your parents for 3 months if you believe you're enlightened. This kind of phrase, this saying, is equivalent to telling a drowning man that he's not going to get drowned because there's also oxygen in the water. The reason why I make this analogy, I think most of you already understand, because this is the environment we're in now. The water is in the information age we're living in. Social media, propaganda, all that kind of things. You might think that you can live with unconscious people because this is the way to challenge yourself. Because this is what you've been taught. This is the way you've been guided by the coaches. This is something you've been reading. The recommended books you've been reading, you've been applying all these things, and you realize, yes, I need to challenge myself. If I believe I'm enlightened, if I believe I can get rid of my ego, I need to put myself in a more dark place, in a more unconscious place, just to challenge myself to see what I'm made out of. Does that sound very familiar? Yes, that was what I have been following before. That's what I've been told. And this is actually what's even more tricky, is that this process is necessary. If you are in that beginning stage of your self-development or self-improvement, or self-discovery, this is a very crucial, important phase to walk through. You have to do that. You have to create all kinds of situations to challenge yourself. But the point of this video is that I want to tell you, if you have a strong feeling that after period of time of experiencing these unconscious world, you have the strong feeling that I just don't want to deal with that anymore. I got fed up. This is enough. And I have to tell you that this is legitimate. Your feeling, this is your gut's feeling, this is your instinct, and this instinct is something you must follow. There's nothing wrong to detach yourself from the darkness, from the unconsciousness. This is the right time to do so. Because you have already passed that point of the original phase, the beginning phase of your development. You have reached a threshold where you can tell yourself to detach from these things. You can build your own social circle with the like-minded people who actually vibrate in a similar vibrational frequency. Because if you go further, stuck in this phase, you're reaching a bottleneck. In this bottleneck, you will be exposed to more obligations from the unconscious world. You will be exhausted, paddling in the darkness of the unconsciousness. A lot of your precious energy will be dissipated, will be exhausted from this process. If we say in the beginning stage this is necessary, right now you're slowly going to the phase where it will become sabotaging and jeopardizing your spiritual health. And in fact, there's a lot of even historical things that happened in the past. Those spiritual teachers that you wanted to follow established something like a commune and or a community that we say. If you guys know the thing about church, Jesus established concept of church. He created concept of church. Basically, it's a commune where the people live together, and it has its own ecosystem. People routinely pray, and then they produce stuff, grow foods on themselves. For the surplus, they actually trade it with other people. That is what we call a church. Not the church that you probably go to in your childhood and then every Sunday you go there to pray for some words and then leave. That's not the church that we know today. And what's funny is that before Jesus, 5 centuries before Jesus, in Buddha's time, Buddha created a commune too. Is that an isolation? It's certain isolation. So when I say that detach yourself from that society, from the unconscious, does not mean that you're going to shut yourself, because that's absolutely not what I mean by detaching from the unconsciousness. Minimize your interactions with the unconscious people. Create your own social circle or a social bubble, while at the same time maintain an absolute openness to the outside world. This is difficult to do because soon, just like a church, later it becomes a religion, as what we see what Christianity has evolved into. From a spiritual teaching to a rigid religion, just like all the other religions out there, even including Buddhism itself. Even though Buddhism was not even supposed to be a religion in the first place. So this is the thing I want to tell you. Watch your mind, but detach from the unconscious world, but at the same time, watch to see if your ego is growing, to see if you are building that kind of shell around yourself. But the openness is always going to be there. Openness is always something you have to watch, and the ego is always something you have to watch for. But it does not mean that you have to always challenge it by staying in the darkness. You cannot fight the darkness. You cannot get the oxygen by plunging into the water and believing you can breathe the oxygen just like fish. You have to get your head out of the water. You have to flow on it instead of fighting it. You cannot fight the darkness, but you can lit up the fire. And there's no darkness in the presence of light. That's who you are. And you can do that by detach from the darkness, by avoiding interactions from them, by jumping out of that kind of matrix. By doing so, you're going to create a space for the like-minded people to come into your circle. And during that process, that's how actually the momentum is going to build up more and more and more, and start influencing, automatically, naturally influence other people around you. That is the fire I'm talking about. That is the light I'm talking about. This is how the light will expel the darkness. So if you feel like you want to detach, if you feel like you don't want to be dealing with the people's reactions, all that kind of things anymore, you just feel like you can see through these behaviors, the people, the psyche, the collective patterns, egoic patterns of the people. You just feel like you no longer want to deal with it anymore. This, again, I want to say, this is a legit feeling. Get yourself out of the situation, whatever it means. Change your job, move to a different place. Go ahead and do that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. This is the point of this video, and I will see you in the next video.